What is going on, guys? This is EK1 Gaming here, and in today's video we're just going to kind of showcase some of the best talents to use if you want to get that little bit extra damage. Now, before we start the video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, and the little notification bell. Let's get to that 20k mark. If you want to help the channel out, that is the way to do it. I'm also going to mention right now that these talents I'm going to show you are not going to be the perfect talents. So if you're looking for like glass cannon, I'm not going to showcase perfect glass cannon because I want the talents to be accessible to you. So I'm going to show you the actual standard talents. Then if you get the perfect talents, that's even better. However, I'm not going to try and make you guys go out and chase after perfect talents when these ones actually work just fine. So what we'll do is, on the video, we'll just go through different sections. And we'll start off at the chest talents, or the body armor talents. And I'm just going to pick a couple out that I think are worthy of using. Now, I don't always use all of these. Some of these I don't really even have in my talent inventory. However, they do help you get that extra bit of damage, whether you're running like a armor build and you just want a little bit more damage, or you're running straight DPS. So the first one I'm going to mention, and let's get it out the way, is this talent here called Spark. Now, Spark currently is bugged out. So on here it says damaging enemies with a skill increases your weapon damage by 15%. However, this is not the case. It does work if you are shooting people. Now, as long as you're landing shots, the 15 seconds never goes away, and the damage actually gives you 15%. So you can up your damage by 15% just by shooting people. And as long as you're hitting shots, you'll have the buff. So it's a constant buff on this talent. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is something that a lot of people use right now, and that is Obliterate. So, critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds, and it stacks up to 25 times. Of course, use this if you have good crit hit chance. So, you want to be looking at anything between sort of 50 and 60% crit hit chance, and every crit you'll get 1% extra damage, which can go up to 25%. So, if you're using this, you know, up close and personal, maybe with an SMG or something like that, where you can get a lot of crit chance easily, then it's definitely a must-have on the builds where you're looking. For me personally, I've replaced Intimidate, which I'll show you in a second. I've replaced that with Obliterate right now because I think Intimidate is too, you know, you need to have bonus armor to activate it. So the next talent that we are going to look at is Spotter, and Spotter basically amplifies total weapon and skill damage by 15% to pulsed enemies. So if you're using a pulse in your build, then Spotter to me is a must-have. Now, the good thing about Spotter is its weapon and skill damage by 15%. So if you're putting out the weapon damage of 15% extra, your drone or whatever, your turret or whatever it is, will also be getting that 15%, as long as you keep pulsing and as long as you got a good cooldown on that pulse. So for me, I don't really use it that often, but I'm going to highlight it because it is very, very good. So the next one we're going to look at is Intimidate. Now, a lot of people have been running this for the last few months right now with Lady Death and the Adrenaline Rush backpack. Now, Intimidate gives you 35% bonus damage to enemies within 10 meters if you have bonus armor, which is why basically people are using the backpack talent Adrenaline Rush or Perfect Adrenaline Rush to get that bonus armor, so you then amplify your damage by 35%. That, alongside other things, is very, very good. It's probably one of the metas still, even though Obliterate is good. Intimidate with that Adrenaline Rush does hit hard. Even if you're running kind of like a 1.5 million armor build, you can still shred people down in PvP. Now, the last one we're going to look at is probably one of the oldest ones, you know, that everyone used to use to get that raw damage, and that's Glass Cannon. So Glass Cannon is all damage you deal is amplified by 25%. However, all damage you take is also amplified by 50%. Now, they do a perfect version of this. Like I say, I'm not going to go into the perfect ones, but Glass Cannon, to me, if you want to do raw damage and not worry about taking more damage, then glass cannon is the way to go. So what we're going to do now is go on to the backpacks, and just want to highlight like 2 of these on here that I use. And again, this is my personal opinion of this. So if you find any that you think, wow, you should have included that, let me know. Now, the first one I'm going to include is Vigilance. Now, this increases total weapon damage by 25%. Now, taking damage disables this buff for 4 seconds. However, there's a slight little trick where if you put your shield out, it doesn't count as taking damage. So you will continually get 25% weapon damage as long as they're hitting your shield and not hitting you as a person. So that's, to me, is like a kind of a must-have. If you're running a shield AR or shield DPS build, that really does come in handy. The next one I'd like to mention is Companion, and this is something I've used a lot on my builds. And it's basically while you are within 5 meters of an ally or a skill, your total weapon damage is increased by 15%. So if you stack that, say, with your I don't know, spotter, and then you've got the drone on, and you've got some, I don't know, you can mix them all up, but as long as you've got something that's going to stay near you, so the likes of a fixer drone or some kind of skill that's next to you, you'll always have that 15% increased weapon damage. So to me, this is pretty much one of my favorite talents. I never really used to like Vigilance because of the, if you get hit, it goes away for 4 seconds. But 4 seconds, not a lot. That's all I'm going to talk about backpacks. There are some other talents that you could use. But, you know, these are just my favorites and my my kind of quick breakdown of talents to use. Now, let's go on to some gun talents. And some of these, this is personal preference, really. One of them is Killer. Now, I like Killer because killing an enemy with a critical hit grants 40% crit damage for 10 seconds. So if you kill someone with a crit hit, you're getting 40% more critical hit damage for a whole 10 seconds. And that's pretty good. And if you've got it on a good gun, which does a lot of damage anyway, then you can really do some high DPS with that talent on there. Of course, there is a perfect talent for Killer as well. But you guys will have to, you know, go and experiment if you want the perfect ones. But yeah, definitely worth looking at and definitely worth using. Now, the next one we're going to go for is In Sync. Now, a lot of people like kind of slept on In Sync for a while, and then for the last few months, again, like I say, people have been using different builds. Now, if you're using a shield, for example, In Sync will proc. So not many people know that using a shield procs In Sync. So basically, In Sync, hitting an enemy grants 15% skill damage for 5 seconds. If you're using a skill or damaging an enemy with a skill, it grants 15% weapon damage. And then damage increases are doubled when both are active. So what's happening is when people are pulling out their shield, they're being shot at. You're shooting them, they're shooting you. It's giving you the double buff. So basically, you are getting the full amount of buff. So you're getting 30% weapon damage by using In Sync. Now, I have this on a FAMAS, which is a very fast firing weapon. And it really does bump up that weapon damage when it comes to pure DPS. Now, the next one I use actually on my Hunter's Fury build with a Vector, and that is Measured. And I've used Measured for a long time on different weapons, you know, sometimes even just on LMGs, etc. But the top half of the magazine has a 20% rate of fire increase and minus 30% weapon damage. The bottom half of the mag is minus 20% rate of fire and plus 30% total weapon damage. So yes, you lose the weapon damage at the beginning, but it goes through the mag so fast, especially if you're using a Vector or something with like 1200 RPM, you're not going to notice the rate of fire so much when you lose it, but you will notice that big buff in damage when it gets to that bottom end of the mag. Again, it's just my personal preference. I really actually like that as a talent on my guns. Now, there are lots and lots of different ones on here. I'm not going to go through them all for rifles, etc. Like Breadbasket is good for rifles and stuff like that. But I'm not going to go through all of those. These are just my highlighted ones that I would literally use and I prefer to use over everything. Now, what I'll show you as well is one other thing. It's not really a talent, but it's a skill. And if you've got your shield, try and get the firewall specialization and unlock the striker shield. because you get a damage bonus per enemy. So any enemy within the cone of the shield, which I'll go and show you what it is now if you don't understand what this is, any person within that cone gets plus 11% weapon damage to them. So you can mix these with everything. So if you see the cone there, like an orange cone, if they're standing within that cone, you're doing extra weapon damage. Obviously that one's not in the cone, but generally speaking, they'll be in the cone. If you're PvPing, if you're doing anything like that, you will see the weapon damage will go up. Now, it doesn't work within the range for some reason, and some of the others don't. However, I just wanted to show you that cone icon so you know where it is. But honestly, it's probably a must-have if you're using a shield anyway. You might as well use this shield variation, unless there's something on your other specializations that you particularly want, like if it's gunner, do you want the bonus armor, etc. So guys, that's it for today's video. This is basically just my favorite talent. Hopefully this helps some people out, especially people that are looking for new builds, new ways to use different talent, or if you're new to the game and just want to really do some more DPS and damage. So thank you so much for watching this video. Do not forget, hit that like button, subscribe button, little notification bell, and I'll see you all next time. Let's go!